welcome to Showband Stories. My guests this week are two brothers, two very special brothers who pushed the boundaries of the showband era, mainly as writers. But we'll hear more about that as we go through. Tommy and Jimmy Swarbrigg, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be here, Steve.
Great to be here.
It was a magical moment when we came in here today into the Ballroom of Romance here in Glenfarne, because, Tommy, you said, romantic interlude. What was that about?
Well, I played here, I joined Joe Dolan and the Drifters as a very young man, and we were up here. We played it many times, but the first time was in 1962, and the owner or manager of the ballroom arrived on stage in the middle of our set, and which incidentally was 5 hours long in those days. 9 to 2.
What was his name, the manager?
John McGivern.
John McGivern.
And John arrived onto the stage in an immaculate tuxedo and bow tie and announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to present our world-famous romantic interlude." And with that, all of the lights along each side of the ballroom were switched off. There were no dimmers then.
No, just switched off.
And the only light that was on was a light at the very back of the hall. And we were instructed we had to play soft, romantic music. And John, first of all, would announce the latest engagements or marriages that emanated from meeting here in the Rainbow Ballroom in Glenfarne during the romantic interlude. And then we would play soft music like Jim Reeves, "Put Your Sweet Lips a Little," or whatever. And they'd all snuggle up to each other in a great old time during John's romantic interlude. The very first man to sort of introduce romance in a big way to the ballrooms.
You went on to great things. I mean, as songwriters, and you also went on to represent your country and Eurovision, all of these great things. But let's go back to the very beginning. You came from a very musical family, both of you, didn't you?
Very musical and very large family. There were 11 of us.
11?
Yes.
Including your father and mother?
No, that was 13.
Plus our father and mother.
There was 11 children. There was 7 girls and 3 boys.
Right.
Our grandfather was taught the brass band in Coothill, as did my father, and also they taught the choir.
Right.
So there was always music in the family.
Yeah. So you were brought into it at a very early age.
Oh, very early age. I remember sitting in the freezing cold courthouse in Coothill while Dad was on the podium instructing us on the rudiments of music.
Right.
And, wishing it was over quick because it was cold in there.
Yeah. I mean, in the brass bands, it wasn't just let's go down and play a few. It was a great community spirit, wasn't there?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and we used to, we played out at Tana, where there was just outside Coothill, where there was a huge brass band festival.
Right.
And there would be brass bands from all over the country at it.
Yes.
And it was very special.
It was. You played as well?
Well, I started playing, but then by the time Tommy was playing, I had gone to England.
All right.
Because I left Coothill just over 15, nearly 15 and a half.
Right.
Went to London to work.
What year was that?
That was I left in 1959.
59.
Yeah. So
by the time you were independent in London.
Oh, no, 58. Sorry, 58. Yeah.
So that was at that time you would have had the Teddy Boys and the Cliff Richard, I suppose, would have been very much.
Yeah, the Mods and Rockers and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
When did you first experiment with songwriting?
Well, I used to send poems. I was into poems.
Yeah, he was into poetry. I was into music.
I used to send a few home to Tommy to see what he thought about them. And he was starting to write a bit of music.
Yeah.
So he started using some of the poems.
Yeah, there was one very dramatic one that arrived, and I says, "Wow, this is great." It was called "Minutes to Midnight."
I remember it well.
And I put the music to that, and that was one of the first ones.
That was one of the first, yeah.
You enjoyed. There was Drifter Mania there at the time, so it was a great time to be in a show band. But you had other fish to fry. You wanted to push the boundaries, and this is where the Swarbriggs come into their own. You wanted to perform your own songs.
Yeah, I mean, but the way at the time I saw it, you know, we had a wonderful, wonderful career with Joe Dolan and the Drifters. And Joe, like, remained an absolutely phenomenal artist all his life.
Yes.
And he was truly exceptional.
Yes.
There's nobody quite like him, really. But it was always going to be Joe Dolan and the Drifters. It was never going to be Tommy Swarbrigg and the Drifters. In the meantime, we had started writing, and Joe, in fairness to him, recorded my earliest songs and put them on the singles as B-sides. Yeah. And some of them were fairly bad. So I would always put my cap up to him and say, "Joe, you were a great one." And he always encouraged me to write.
Yes.
And, you know, gradually I got a bit better, and the songs became a little bit more acceptable. And then he recorded, a couple on albums and things like that. And so, you know, we kept writing, and Jimmy kept sending me lyrics, and we really were planning to form our own band and try the singer-songwriter route, because we were really both into it.
We were
at this stage.
interested in it. Yeah. That's what we wanted to do.
That must have been very exciting to think that you're going to get out there, have a band perform you, because it was happening all over the world, so why not Ireland?
Well, yes, that's what we saw. And we thought that we could give it a go as well. Like, we didn't think we were great songwriters, but we thought we had something to offer, so...
Yes, you also had a lovely harmony blend, which they say only brothers can have.
Well,
it's a sort of instinctive thing, you you roll into it, and you just sort of... We used to instantly take up a role. Sometimes I would be the lead and a certain song, Jim would do harmony, and sometimes we would know who the song suited best.
Yes.
So sometimes I was the lead singer on them, sometimes he was, depending on the song.
So water finds its own level. It instinctively happens. Yeah. When you think back to some of the great especially say the Everly Brothers, and the harmonies were that you just couldn't get it to happen unless the people were very close spiritually as well as everything else.
I think so. Yeah.
You're about to enter into this fabulously exciting new phase of your careers. I'd love to hear you give us a rendition of Looking Through the Eyes of a Beautiful Girl, a song that you wrote yourselves. The first big one for you, wasn't it?
It was indeed, and we'd love to do it.
Yeah, pleasure.
Tommy and Jimmy Swarbrigg with their own composition, Looking Through the Eyes of a Beautiful Girl.
Look at her walking, everyone stopping to stare as she passes them by. Look at her talking, everyone turning their heads for a look from her eye. Look at her moving, think she stepped out of a dream. What am I gonna do if I'm to make her mine? Bide my time, 'cause she's so fine. I said she's looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, 'cause it's the only way she knows. She's looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, and everywhere she looks it shows. There's something about the way she looks around, it's almost heavenly. Don't you know she's looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, and I'll never rest a day till she looks straight at me. Everyone everyone knows it. I just can't hide what's inside, and my heart gives me away. Everything shows it, all that I think and I do, and in all that I say. Everyone trying to keep her from me. What am I gonna do to make her look my way? Come what may, I gotta say that she is looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, 'cause it's the only way she knows. She's looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, and everywhere she looks it shows. There's something about the way she looks around, it's almost heavenly. Don't you know she's looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, and I'll never rest a day till she looks straight at me. Don't you know she's looking through the eyes of a beautiful girl, 'cause it's the only way. I do believe I see that she is looking through the eyes of a
Welcome back. Just before the break, you heard Tommy and Jimmy Swarbrigg sing what I think was a very, very important song. It was the inspiration for so many other singer-songwriters. People like my friend Fran O'Toole and Des Lee, people like that, weren't afraid anymore to dip their toe in the water and perform their own music. So you decided when the Drifters split 1968, was it?
Yeah, 68.
68, to take the bull by the horns and form the new band. Joe was going to do his own thing,
Yeah.
and you were going to do your own thing. Most of the Drifters stayed with you, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of unrest in the band at the time. It was going through a rough period, and I said I was leaving, and the boys came in at me and asked me would I be interested if they lived with me. It wasn't a planned thing, it just happened like that.
Yes.
And that was it. They left. All that was left of the Drifters was Ben and Joe. But of course Joe went on to huge international success afterwards.
Of course he did. Yes.
And Sid Ahi, our drummer, passed away recently. And it was a very sad time.
Yes.
We all met up and...
You all met up, and
Yeah.
I remember seeing you. I mean, I remember being green with envy as a young fella. I just wanted to be in that band. You know, I was youngsters looking up from the Collins Hall in Clonmel.
Oh, I remember the Collins Hall well.
Yeah, just up the road from us. I mean, as you say, Joe went on to great heights. So another band who wouldn't have the kind of resilience that you had, you know, might have perhaps idled on for a while and did something else. But you went on from strength to strength because Jimmy, you joined the band.
Yes, I came back from England, and
You were in bands in England?
well, I was, yeah. I was in groups, and I was also in an Irish band in London called the Saints and Sinners.
Saints and Sinners.
And I'm sure there are a lot of people still in London who remember that band.
Yeah. You were the Times when you formed the new band, wasn't it? It was the Times.
The Times Showband, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a big success.
Fantastic, phenomenal. We just had a few great years. We had a lot of hit records, one after the other. Yeah. If Ma Could See Me Now, then.
Yeah. That was very like a sort of like in the style of Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Yes. I mean, look, you were on the road.
Yeah.
What you were was a live jukebox.
Yeah. I thought, actually, Tommy, I thought that was better than anything Gilbert ever wrote. I just loved it. I thought it was, it was very evocative. If Ma Could See Me Now, it was a great lyric, wasn't it?
It was. Look, it's still popular to this day, very popular, and still gets a bit of an airing on radio and that.
You were pushing the boundaries. You were established Irish songwriters, and people so often they levelled this criticism against Irish bands that, you know, they were doing covers and they couldn't do it. But Ireland punched well above its weight when it came to Eurovision. It's won it more times than anybody else, hasn't it?
Oh, far more, absolutely. Yeah. I can't remember how many times, but sure, we've won it so many times. I don't think anyone will ever catch up.
No.
You know, you have great writers like Brendan Graham have won it, and Johnny Logan, and, you know, it's a fantastic record in the Eurovision.
You had a particularly strong band musically.
Oh, look, we had phenomenal musicians in the times. The excitement on stage, playing with those guys, I swear I'll never forget it. It was just unbelievable. I would come off on a high after gigs. We had Sean Kenny, phenomenal guitar player. Mickey O'Neill on drums,
yes.
Phenomenal. Again, poor Sean and Mickey had passed away.
Yes.
The Doc Doherty
too
on
young.
piano.
Des Doc Doherty on piano, the original Drifters, phenomenal player. Great rock and roll player.
Yes.
You know, Jerry Lee Lewis job.
Yeah.
Great. We Gene Bannon up the road in Coot Hill.
Yes.
Great sax player. Jimmy Horn on bass. We had also Andy O'Callaghan, who became one of Ireland's best arrangers and has done stuff for RTE for years and years. Who else?
James Delaney.
James Delaney, yeah, another phenomenal, played with Mary Black. And
funny enough, I gave James his first job.
Yeah, great.
He's from down my neck of the woods. He's from Winegap, just outside Carrigan-Shore, County Kilkenny, in County Kilkenny.
Great player.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
So we had always just terrific musicians in the band, and the buzz you would get from actually playing live will never be replaced.
There is nothing like that, is there? I mean, as you say, get on there. There's no tricks or skullduggery or anything like that. There's no big lighting production to hide any lack of talent. It was like being in a way, it was like being in the ring for a fight. There was no hiding place.
Absolutely, and for 2 solid hours.
I remember Easter Sunday night, Arda Carnival outside Longford. 1,800 people in the marquee, and they're rocking it, and it's just memories that will never leave us.
You were giving the people what they wanted.
Well, there was certainly a buzz.
It was a combination of both. They were giving us what we wanted as well.
Well, I wouldn't underestimate the power of the show bands, because the actual the sound of the show band was unique. I mean, I know that lineup was used by all the great soul bands, Otis Redding, and all those bands would have used that very similar type of voicing on the brass and all that. But the show bands had this very punchy, danceable type. You go into a marquee and the first thing that hits you was the brass section.
Oh, yes.
That's right. Absolutely, yeah.
That was
Joey Gilheany, I forgot. Joey Gilheany, who was in the band, lives down the road in Swanlin Bar. One of the very best trombonists this country has ever produced.
Tommy and Jimmy, I have to ask you this question because I've asked most people that we had on. If you could relive any one musical day of your lives, what would it be?
Well, for me anyway, it was any one of the Eurovisions, because I think it's great honour to represent your country.
Yes.
No matter what you're at, and to sing for your country, I think it was one of the best honours we ever had.
It's fabulous.
That's true, and I remember the viewing figures for the Eurovision. The time we did it in Stockholm, there were 500 million people viewing it. Incredible.
Nice to have 10 bob from each one of those in the marquee, wouldn't it?
Well, we did get a few pence from each one.
So your moment that you relive, I see your eyes are beginning the cash registers.
What did we do with all that money, Jim?
So what about yours?
We lashed out on these clothes. It cost a fortune.
the gold suits.
The showband.
Are you avoiding this question? What is your moment that you'd relive, Tommy?
Well, I would have to say, looking back on those times, and I remember vividly that marquee in, where was it, outside Longford?
Arda.
And, it was phenomenal. There was a mass of people in front of you, all looking up at you, and you boogieing them dead, and Sean Kenny on his guitar, and the band absolutely happy, and it was going wild, and it was just, I can still see it and still feel it.
Yeah. We spoke about If Ma Could See Me Now, and also you represented your country in Eurovision. I wonder if we can fuse the two of those together, and if you can give us a little bit of the two of those songs. Can you do that?
That'd be lovely. With no problem, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve,
Jimmy Swarbrigg, it's
Thank you, Steve.
a pleasure and an honour to have you here on Showband Stories.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
If Ma could see me now, drinking my wine, smoking my cigarettes. If Ma could see me now, what in the world would she say? Where is the boy who played with his toy he took from the girl next door? And where is the lad who called to his dad to tell him the county score? If Ma could see me now, could I begin explaining my present state, living in sin and staying out much too late? Would she be pleased if she could see me now? The sweetest thrill is knowing you're wanted. Never thought I'd feel it again. So long ago, I almost forgot it. It's coming back like an old refrain. It's nice to be in love again. That old familiar feeling when you say hello and you know it's love. It's nice to be in love again. That old familiar feeling when you meet your girl and the world stands still. Your heart is filled with sweet melody. It's nice to be in love again. It's nice to be in love again. That old familiar feeling when you meet your girl and the world stands still. Your heart is filled with sweet melody. It's nice to be